Okay, well, Fed Chairman Ben Bernanke, we were talking about that, will testify before the House Oversight Committee today on his role in the Bank of America acquisition of Merrill Lynch. Have charges the Fed overstepped its bounds tarnished his reputation and put a second term at risk? Well, who better to ask that than one of Wall Street's longest-serving Fed watchers, and Kathleen Hays joins me now with a special guest. Kathleen.
Betty, thank you so very much. And yes, we are joined today by Henry Kaufman. He's president of Henry Kaufman Company. Henry, welcome.
Thank you.
We were just talking moments ago about the many Fed chairmen you've been watching. You started the New York Federal Reserve Bank in 1957 when William McChesney Martin was running the Fed.
That's correct.
Did you ever think you'd see a day when a Fed chairman was called to Capitol Hill to explain if he did or did not pressure a commercial bank to purchase an investment bank?
Well, probably not. But there have been many instances where the Federal Reserve has come under strong pressure. And, of course, the periods of time that we've gone through over the last 10 to 15 years, there have been issues that have involved too-big-to-fail problems. There have been issues concerning debt leveraging and so on. So this is a little bit closer in importance, perhaps, than in the past.
So if it's true that Ben Bernanke did in some way pressure Ken Lewis, the head of BofA, to go through with the Merrill Lynch acquisition, did he overstep his bounds, number one? And does this put him in jeopardy for a second term as the Fed chairman, number two?
Well, first of all, I don't know. And secondly, I think it's a serious issue of what were the circumstances actually at that period of time in terms of the risks that were being posed to the structure of the credit markets. As you know, last year we had some very, very sensitive problems. Systemic risk was really overbounding here.
Well, I want to ask you a question, because you have been critical of Ben Bernanke because he failed to recognize the excesses of the financial market. And you are talking, I assume, particularly about the events that led up to and created this financial crisis.
Well, that is right. Now, I don't want to personalize it, but there have been a lot of shortcomings in monetary policy. Among other things, the Federal Reserve did not comprehend or understand the changes that were taking place in the structure of the markets, such as the huge growth of derivatives, all various new types of financing, and the implications of those structural developments for monetary policy.
Mr. Kaufman, it's Betty here. I just wanted to jump in very quickly because do you believe, though, that Ben Bernanke has been completely forthright in what he has in his involvement in the Bank of America Merrill Lynch deal, or do you feel that there were some things that he should have done better?
I don't know. I would say the underlying issue is a much bigger one. I think there is a need, after having a Federal Reserve system that was created in 1913, to have a new look at the role of the Federal Reserve, number one, the structure of the Federal Reserve, the procedures of the Federal Reserve. Think of it. The financial markets have changed so drastically in this period, and we have done nothing really to re-examine the role and the structure of the Fed.
So what's the number one thing that we need to do to change the Fed, Henry?
I think the number one thing that we need to do is to have a commission that would look into the structure, the role, and the procedures of monetary policy in an apolitical kind of commission rather than a politicized commission.
What do you say, though, Mr. Kaufman, about those who say that the Fed, in these changes, these reforms that we've got right now, that they're giving too much power to the Fed? What is your argument to that?
No, I strongly believe that ultimately the centralized supervisor for the 15 to 20 largest financial institutions in the United States, that should be run through the Federal Reserve System. It cannot be separated really from monetary policy. How can you separate it when the creation of credit is a Federal Reserve responsibility, and if the Fed would create too much credit, no matter what an independent, so to speak, supervisor would do, he or she would not be able really to formulate a procedure that would get us to sustainable economic growth.
Quick final question.
Okay, thanks so much, Henry Kaufman, for joining us, and also for Kathleen Hays.